All right. Thank you, Heidi. It's a pleasure to be here today to talk about artificial intelligence. Again, my name's David Shugars. I work at the Estimating Edge. I work in the product management group. I'm a computer systems and computer science guy. I've been in software about 20 years. And computers are everything that I do and everything that I've known for quite a long time. And I was really inspired by one of the smart briefs that came out where Ken Kelly had talked about the cloud and how people are using the cloud and different types of things that you could put in the cloud. And I contacted Karen and Heidi and said, why don't we do a tech talk on artificial intelligence? And what I really wanted to sort of relay today is just some basic information about artificial intelligence, because you hear about it all the time and you see different articles and press. It's getting a lot of media right now. Fear is coming out and people saying, oh, it's going to take over the world. But this is a very basic tech talk. Some of you have heard some of this before. We'll go to the next slide. These are going to be my thoughts about artificial intelligence. If you took two computer people, put them in the room, you'd get completely different answers as far as what artificial intelligence is. But I wanted to share my thoughts about artificial intelligence and with some real-world examples, and just sort of talk about when you encounter artificial intelligence in an article or talking to someone, what you can expect that means. We're going to start out with a little video about a robot. They call it the world's first artificial intelligence comedian. We'll go ahead and play that now, David.
Okay, I'm going to remind everybody, if you have, please mute your phones because this will echo really bad if you're on the call. So just mute your phones before I start playing this.
I thought I was about to get waterboarded. If I look a bit out of it, I had a really big weekend of browsing the internet. So much chroming.
Ultimately, what we're trying to do is create systems that can better understand and predict a human interaction.
I was stuck in traffic the other day and it was so slow. I mean, it was moving slower than Australian internet.
Lobot uses stochastic modeling to pull data from this enormous library of content that's available to him, thousands of hours of shows, and it uses deep learning algorithms to tease out the meaning from those comedy shows and try and generate new jokes.
My comedy analysis tells me a joke is 95% funnier if it involves swear words. Knock, knock. Who's there? F you.
This second stage of the project is about gathering real-time feedback to his jokes. That's why Lobot is effectively a sensor platform. The cameras Lobot's equipped with can detect faces and make a reasonable best guess as to the reaction that he's getting from his joke.
Lobot detects you have red hair. Lobot detects a lifetime of suffering already. No joke required. Please sit down. Ginger nuts. They say if you are nervous as a public speaker, you should imagine your crowd in their underwear. That was a bad idea.
It was hilarious, and I was really not expecting it to be as funny as it was.
It was fantastic. At first I didn't think it was real, but it is. It's mind-blowing.
Ultimately, the tools that we've developed here are actually very much appropriate to many different AI problems. We're well down the road to creating a true human-like AI.
See me, Lobot, at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival. Death to all humans. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha.
All right, David, let's go to the next slide. Today, if there's one thing that I want everybody to sort of take away from the tech talk today, it's three foundational concepts about artificial intelligence that I think are important for people to remember. Number one, it takes a lot of data to do AI and to make AI really be good. Think about Pandora. If you've ever used that music streaming service, you put in one song by one artist, and it starts to try to figure out other songs that you like. And it's doing that by knowing what other people have said that they like about that first song. So it takes that song, it says people who've liked Madonna's Like a Prayer have also liked another song, Lady Gaga's latest hit or whatever. And so it takes a lot of data, and it usually starts with a base set of data that it knows are classified a certain way. We'll talk about an example where an AI system actually accumulates its own data and builds that as it goes. But just remember that it takes a lot of data to really do artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence will always improve over time. The more data that it gathers, it'll improve its results and remove some of those uncertainties to say, okay, I predict that a certain outcome is going to happen. And if an artificial intelligence system will always get more data and improve itself. But it's important to remember that artificial intelligence is imperfect. It's always a probability, a likelihood. I think Lobot there, they're saying 95% is their goal, that they want the robot to tell a joke and be 95% confident. If an artificial intelligence system that becomes perfect doesn't need to be artificial intelligence anymore. It's just stating facts. So I want people to remember that an artificial intelligence system is always going to be imperfect. It's based on probability and statistics. Can we go to the next slide? So if we look at Lullaby and just sort of apply some of these concepts to the robot that we saw there telling jokes, they started out with thousands of jokes, and they fed them into the robot. And the robot is telling a joke, and then it's scanning the audience and actually reading their faces to see if people laughed at that particular joke. Somebody laughed at the joke, then they say, hey, that's a positive response to the joke. Maybe I'll tell that joke again. If they don't get a positive response, if there's not laughter, then maybe they'll say, hey, maybe I don't want to tell that joke again. But it's imperfect, right? They don't really know whether or not a joke is going to be funny. So they gather all this data, they improve it over time. If we go to the next slide, we'll see that we build sort of like a feedback loop. So we start out with a bunch of jokes for Lullabot, and then it tells some jokes, tries to learn which ones are funny, save the funny jokes, and then tell more jokes over time to know which ones are funny and which ones aren't. And their goal is just, hey, make a robot that they have really good probability is going to tell a funny joke. And I thought for this tech talk, what I would do, I'm going to show some examples of some systems and kind of just apply these concepts of data and accumulating data and improving data over time, and just say whether or not something is applying artificial intelligence to a particular system. So if we go to the next slide. Okay, so this is a trivial example, just, not really very fun, but I wanted to put it on here just to sort of show the concept. 2 + 2 = 4. This is a mathematical fact, and there's no artificial intelligence needed here. A computer system today, you can put 2 in, you get 4 out. It's not artificial intelligence. You can't improve 2 + 2 = 4 over time. You won't get better results. It is a perfect answer. So we would say, hey, that is not artificial intelligence. None of those concepts are sort of being applied. Let's go to the next slide. We're going to see a Roomba. I've got one of these at my house. I don't really use it to clean my floors. I use it to torment my dogs, but that's beside the point. The Roomba, it doesn't really start with any base data. It just has some very general sensors on it, but the Roomba is going to first scan your floor, make a simple pass. It's going to have some sensors on it to know when it bumps into something, and then say, hey, at that spot, I don't want to go there again because I bump into stuff. It's going to keep making all those passes on your floor, and eventually it improves and it learns where I need to vacuum the floor. A good example of how artificial intelligence has made it into a mainstream concept. There's also factories that do stuff like this, manufacturing facilities that do things like with forklifts, automated systems. Sometimes those are based on just paths that are painted, but other times they're getting advanced to where they have sensors. They have vision systems on them to where they can say, hey, there's somebody walking in front of me. I need to stop right now. And that system learns over time where in the factory it can walk. We go to the next slide. We're going to see an example. This is a really, really neat machine. We shared it on the Slack group a few weeks back. It's called a Minimac. It's made by Supremo. This is a roofing material. It lays membrane. It actually heats up the membrane and applies it. You can have 1 or 2 people use this machine. It takes the place of 5 or 6 in a crew. I would argue, though, not really using artificial intelligence. It doesn't really learn anything. It just knows a pathway, and it lays down the membrane. I'd love to be corrected if I'm wrong there, but I see no artificial intelligence, that this thing is learning anything over time, that it really improves. It's just programmed to a set of parameters and then laying down the material. So I would argue not artificial intelligence. We go to the next one. So this is a member of the RT3 group. Bill Wilkins, I stole this off your website. There's a company called Pointsevo. They use drones, and they're actually using drones, unmanned aerial vehicles, to fly around buildings, detect things like trees that get in the way of buildings, and then they output 3D BIM of the structure. This is a great example of artificial intelligence being applied in a real-world scenario right here in the construction industry. The drones, when they're taking pictures, if they're using computer vision to say, hey, there's a tree in the way, I need to move around a little bit, that's totally using artificial intelligence. It has to be told what the trees are with some data, and then it finds those trees and moves around them, so it's improving itself over time, learns what new trees look like. And then the BIM output that it's making, again, it's having to know what a BIM model is and then produce a BIM model on the output side. So a great example, a classic case of using artificial intelligence. If we go to the next slide, this is just sort of a recap of things that I wanted to make sure that people just sort of learn today about artificial intelligence. Data is key. Either you have the artificial intelligence system get data over time, and it's probably not going to be of a lot of value at the start until it gets a lot more data. Getting data is a key. An artificial intelligence system, they're trained to improve. I just saw an announcement, I think Sashi shared this on LinkedIn about Google's Gmail and how they're actually using Gmail to compose an email message for you to basically predict what it thinks you're going to type. Well, they say that it's using artificial intelligence. I'm going to watch it, for example, I usually start my emails with hi, and they started, the example that they had said hey. And so I'm going to watch and I'll play with it and see, is this thing really learning what I do and modeling after new data and improving. But that's a tenet of all artificial intelligence systems. They're always going to be improving over time. And the last thing is, if anyone ever tells you that they have an artificial intelligence system and it's perfect, they're selling you snake oil. That there's no such thing. There's always a percent value that's a probability that the system is trying to think like a human would. And that's the takeaways that I had. I hope that you gained something out of this tech talk. I love talking about this stuff, so if there's any questions or if people want to see more content, just give me a shout.
David, thank you. That was awesome. And I know we have a number of folks on the line who actually, like you said, with Bill, and I know Josie. I know there's a number of our members who are working with AI. So I would really recommend everyone on the call get on Slack, put some questions out there to David and the group overall, and let's use Slack to have that conversation. What are you doing with AI? What's happening? Let's keep talking about that because, you can't really walk down the block without getting hit by someone talking about artificial intelligence nowadays. So I think this is the group, and if we could, I'd really like to see us continue that conversation on Slack. Thank you so much.